The Chicago School Board has just voted to close 49 schools. The district says it needs to close schools to address a looming $1 billion deficit and declining enrollment. It is the largest mass public school closing in U.S. history.
Save our schools! Save our schools! Save our schools!
When they already, this is all they ever know for all the years of their life of being in school, and you're going to take that away from them? Rahm, man, whoever. I want him to get down here, and I want him to come and have a meeting with us.
It's not fair to any of these kids, any. I'm a mother just like everybody else, and I feel for everybody's children.
Today was Lafayette. Tomorrow will be another school and another school and another school till we get our point across.
To start at youth, to start in the beginning. You immediately are introduced to a realm of being less than. Well, if they can take that from me, well, if I don't deserve that, well, if I'm not worthy of that. And we all grew up with the understanding of like, well, all you have to do is go to school. All you got to do is go to school and be Black. That's go to school, be Black and die. But, parents are much sweeter. So all you got to do is go to school and be Black. That is all. And then you have this administration that comes in and takes that.
Next Wednesday is the last day for staff here at Cantor Middle School. After that, this school's closing for good. CPS labeled Cantor Middle School in Kenwood underutilized and slated it for closing last year, then granted it a one-year reprieve. 8th graders could remain in Cantor and graduate from here, while the other grades were slowly phased out and moved to Ray and Bret Hart schools. 2014 Cantor grads finished yesterday.
I went to Cantor Middle School, that's in Hyde Park, but I also attended Kilman Corporate Elementary School, which is on the west side, North Lawndale.
Maintain all staff, top down, bottom up. That means administration, all the teachers, the lunch staff, the security, engineer, everyone.
We're not going to allow you to come into our community, take over our schools, disrupt our children, disrupt our community, our lives.
How can I put this? It kind of seemed like because of the neighborhood we was in, they didn't recognize the relationships or the care that the teachers gave to those students. They only cared about the numbers. So they fired all of the Black teachers who couldn't produce the numbers and then hired all of the white teachers who then could push for those numbers but not care for the kids. And that's what it felt like.
I attended Ronald E. McNair Elementary School, and my school was turned into an AUSL school, which is like a pseudo charter program where they outsource teachers and like other school staff into the current school, and the teachers that were there already had to reapply for their jobs.
3 elementary schools are on this year's turnaround list. The McNair School on the west side has been on probation for the last 14 years. On the south side, the Gresham School has been on probation for 6 years, and last year its students were 20 points below the district's average. At the Dvorak School on the near west side, students were nearly 30 points below the district average, and the school has been on probation for the past 7 years. Despite these numbers, CTU Vice President Jesse Sharkey says turning around the schools is a bad policy.
I think this is the mayor destabilizing schools, and I think that it's a radical and untested or unproven reform that will wind up firing staffs at schools who are precisely some of the most dedicated staffs in the city working with the most difficult kids.
If the school board approves of 3 schools for turnarounds, all the teachers and the principal will have to reapply for their jobs. That's what happened at the Piccolo School when it was turned around 2 years ago. AUSL, the nonprofit school management firm contracted by CPS to turn around the school, brought in new principal Lori Campbell. Campbell began by hiring an almost completely new staff.
We used to live in the Austin neighborhood, and the school that ended up being closed in our neighborhood was Emmett. And they just opened that school like 2 years before they closed it. It was insane. And we were all just like, well, what do they plan on doing with the building now that it's empty? The history has shown that these people in positions of power aren't thinking or considering Black people when they make decisions like school closures, because education is such an important part of like just personhood and identity. And as someone that has been like, we've been put into education from the time that we're children, we have to care about it and we have to hold it dear to us. And it seems like, and it has been so, that in Chicago there's this disregard for it when it comes to Black and brown people.
Rahm Emanuel wants to close what he calls underutilized schools, saying it will save Chicago $560 million over the next decade and free up money for the remaining facilities. The plan has sparked controversy because the majority of the schools being closed are in poor, predominantly African-American neighborhoods.
This policy is racist, it's classist. Mayor Rahm Emanuel should be ashamed of himself.
The closings impacting predominantly Black and brown communities was a direct result of CPS, of the mayor, and the corporate class implementing this strategy of under-resourcing and divesting from Black communities for decades.
What's important is what happens in those buildings, meaning the education of our children. And the whole effort is, and the decision that's been talked about, discussed, is about making sure that every child, regardless of where they live, regardless of their circumstances, has the opportunity to go to a quality school and receive a high quality education. And that has not been the case in the city of Chicago.
So when someone like Rahm or Ken Griffin say we're going to close 200 schools, they're not being used properly, they created those conditions for that to happen.
So this sense of security, this sense of safety, this place where I can go and be cared for and cherished, and for a number of us, the center of attention, or finally in community being practiced as a verb, they took that. And so I think it speaks volumes to what they've been doing for centuries. We were the 8th grade class. We were excited. We're trying to plan a class trip. We're doing, class notables. I was a part of the yearbook team, so everybody's taking your pictures. Every day was like picture day because you're like, okay, I just want to get in the yearbook. Um, it was very fun. It was always very festive, and the community was similar because they had grown to know us in like 2 years, seeing these kids every day. We know who's on the corner. We know who works at the restaurants, in like the commercial corridor and all of that stuff. Um, but it all began to change really fast.
Well, Ben, the sit-in may be over, but parents are vowing to continue to fight to keep their school. Now, last month, CPS slated Gresham Elementary School as a turnaround school, prompting a protest by both parents and students. Now, this weekend sit-in was ended just a few hours ago when police escorted protesters from the building. Now, about a dozen parents and roughly 40 students participated in the protest after the Board of Education designated in April the Southside Grade School as one of 3 turnaround schools. And while school officials say that Gresham is on academic probation and needs help achieving academic success, protesters accuse school officials of taking over the school because they want to make it a charter school.
From the months leading up to the turnaround to the months after the turnaround, all of the parents were organized, all of the teachers were organized. They had us drafting letters in the classroom as a part of an assignment to the Board of Education and it wasn't like a forced thing to do because all of the kids were on board. We didn't want our teachers to be fired. The way we were met at the Board of Education was disgusting. We had a bunch of students and teachers who had their opportunity to speak to the Board of Education and plead. And the Board of Education wasn't here for it. They was looking at us like, we're giving you a courtesy, but they wasn't listening to us. Heads bowed, faces in papers, eyes glassed over, people talking while people are talking. They didn't care.
We have a working elevator, so why spend $2 million? Morgan can split that money with Rainer. We can save both schools. Save our 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 schools. Save.
And then within our community, we immediately began seeing the cues of disinvestment and gentrification talking takeover spirit. The mom and pop shops were closing. Huge buildings for campus of the Chicago started coming in. We're seeing way more people who do not look like us. They do not sound like us. They're asking us for direction. They don't even know where they're at. And this has been home to us our whole lives.
So I've been involved with Delano for 30 years. I call Delano the motherboard of the neighborhood. Delano have pushed out doctors, lawyers, teachers, homeowners, business owners.
Delano was one of the 50 schools voted to be closed, even though the hearing officer tasked with monitoring the closing process, retired Judge Clifford Meacham, recommended Delano be taken off the list.
This is a beautiful community, and they want to take our community. Like I say, they've been wanting Delano for years. And prime property. Look where you're at. You're at the blue line, the green line. You're 5 minutes from downtown. You're in the park. You have all these gravestones. It's just a beautiful area. Very beautiful.
I don't believe that Black and brown communities are already just outwardly trusting our city officials or our state officials, but it definitely shredded whatever ounce there was.
The under-resourcing of Black and brown Chicago by the city government being such a sort of ingrained way in which people see government in their lives. And that really influences how people view decisions made about investment.
broken promises, severed trust, all of those things, I still see remnants of that today, just in how people view the Chicago Teachers Union, or in how people view Chicago public schools, how people view the mayoral position. What power do these people actually have? I see that question a lot. And it's like, I don't really know what to tell you because I don't know myself. But we have to like reckon with the fact that those school closures deeply affected a generation of people.
The turnaround definitely brought money to the school, but money over culture is not something that I'm personally for. So I mean, that's their prerogative. That's not our prerogative. But they took away our culture and brought money to the school, so it did create a lot of better opportunities and better programs, books, teaching methods to the students. But it took away our culture in the process.
Brand new name on the school, and that was the most hurtful part of it all, because we were a Black school, and all of our teachers who were majority Black women make sure every single one of us was successful, make sure we all met our standards, make sure we were cared for. And you turn around and turn this school in a Black neighborhood to a school of excellence, and made a lot of us feel like we weren't smart in the first place, that we weren't excellent, like that all of the achievements, all of the honor rolls, all of that didn't even matter, because now we're excellent. And now this is the school that we're going to graduate from, that's going to let everybody know that we were excellent. Like, it left a terrible feeling in our stomachs. We were sick.
But I think one that's not talked about as much is the sort of, there's a longing. I'll catch community members staring off into Overton, and it has curtain walls so you can look right through it, but it's like they're looking at what was. I don't want whatever new thing you're trying to sell me. I want that old thing back. I liked what it was. I loved what it was. Can we do that again?